everyone. Welcome to Live, Breathe Film. I'm Murph. You're here with myself, Corey, Doug, and JP. So apologies for the delay since it's been a couple weeks since our last update. We'll try to make this one worth it for you, but between the 4th of July and some personal situations, aka Doug moving, it kind of kept us busy in our own ways, and we'll try to make this one extra special for you. But what we're going to be doing tonight is mixing things up and actually starting with our media diet. Typically, we end the show with our recommendations from what we've been watching over the previous week or so since our last episode. Now we are actually going to start with that instead, and we will get things going right now with some things that we all watched over the past 2 weeks in this case. So the big event of the past week and a half at this point has been Hamilton. We have all watched it, and we're going to kind of save that discussion for later on in this podcast. So what we will talk about real quickly is Perry Mason, episodes 2 and 3 on HBO. I believe the last time we spoke, the three of you had all watched the first episode. I hadn't watched it yet. Since then, I'm completely caught up on the first 4, and Doug and Corey, I don't believe you've watched any since.
Nope.
Obviously busy during that time period. JP, you watched episode 2 and 3 since then?
Yeah, I just finished episode 3 this past weekend.
Okay. What are your thoughts since we last spoke about it?
Since the show came out, I took a week or two off from it, and I hadn't really had the urge to go out and watch it again. We sat down last night, actually, on Sunday night, and we started with episode 2, and it pulled me right back in. Just the tone of the entire show it's addicting. It's such a weird world that they're living in, and it gets even weirder in the 3rd episode, and it pulled me in even more. I almost liken it to another HBO show, like Carnival had that weird mysticism to it, and this almost has an underlying subplot of mysticism and weird goings on, but it's set in a very based and grounded reality. And I love the way it's shot. I love the way all the characters are, and the setting is really, really appealing. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of what you're saying about like the kind of like the mystical like tone, I don't think there's any like spirits or anything on the show, but who knows what'll happen. It does kind of remind me of the first season of True Detective a little bit in that regard, especially with like the the evangelical like kind of backyard churches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Granted, this backyard church is now a fully functional, massive, profiting church than the ones on like True Detective and stuff like that. But
hey, good Lord, does it look entertaining? I think I'd go there every Sunday to watch what they had going on there.
Yeah, it was definitely looks way more entertaining than the churches we all went to when we were younger.
That's saying something.
But what performances are kind of doing it for you right now? Any in particular?
I'm loving the main character. I'm terrible with names of actors and all this. I love the main character. I think he's great.
Yeah, Matthew Rhys
and his partner from Fast and the Furious. I was really glad that they brought him back in for the 2nd episode and the 3rd episode. Let's see. I want to look. I gotta look up the other names because I feel like I'm not doing it justice if I'm saying the names.
Well, the second one you referred to was Shea Wiggum.
Yes.
I'm sure he'd be honored that Fast and the Furious is what he's being shouted out for.
Yeah.
No, he's like great. He's just a great character actor.
Yeah, he's fantastic, and just
the way people. I feel like most people would not know his name, but they'd be like, "Oh, it's that guy who I've seen in this or that," and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and then they introduced Christopher Chalk, who plays Paul Drake, the detective, who. It kind of breaks the case a little bit, and I feel like he's a fantastic. There are really no bad performances in this show. I would say,
John Lithgow, solid.
Yeah.
Tatiana Maslany, has been strong in the little she's had to do so far. I feel like it's going to be more and more of her as it goes along. I liked how in episode 3, like she finally had a scene with Matthew Rhys, and I hope there's a lot more of that as the show goes on.
Yes, yeah. I really like the characters that they're building. All these characters just have something going on with them. And I'm never bored if it concentrates on one of them or another one. It's always entertaining, no matter what path they go down in an episode.
Yeah, it's fun watching the mystery kind of expand and get larger and things like that. I remember after the first episode, you're like, oh, well, we kind of like know who did it already. It's like it's always going to be bigger in like a noir like type film TV show, and I feel like it's going to grow into something much more surprising by the time it ends.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of knots to be undone, and the web is going to expand, I'm sure. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to probably watch episode 4 tonight. Is episode 4 out?
Yeah, I watched it last night.
Episode 4. I'll probably watch that.
Episode 4 came out last night. It was another good one. I think you'll like it, and hopefully the other guys can get caught up by next week, and we can talk about episode 5 next Monday. All right. As for everyone's individual recommendations, Corey, you have, I believe, a new Netflix show, right?
Yeah, the show that I watched was Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix. I believe it's a revitalized version of an older show from when we were kids, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. What I saw, I only watched the first episode, but just the mystery and the story was really, really interesting. It definitely grabbed you immediately. And it seems like, each episode that they have is a different mystery. So I'm interested in, kind of continuing to watch it, but it definitely grabbed me when I first started watching it. And I was, in it for like the hour-long episode unfolding, the mystery and what happened. But I really liked how it was shot and just how intriguing the mysteries were from beginning to end. So I'm definitely liking it. I'll probably continue to watch it.
JP, you watched it as well?
Oh yeah, no, I went down a hole this weekend. I've watched episodes multiple times already. I'm sitting there in my pajamas thinking, I'm going to solve this one, and I go off on a tangent, and I go on the Reddit and I look at all. Unsolved Mysteries is one of my favorite shows growing up as a kid. Robert Stack hosting the whole thing, and I would sit there with my Elio's pizza and watch on a summer afternoon. It's a great continuation of what they were doing. My only gripe is they need a host, because
the host is kind of
generic. I don't want to. Yeah, well, there's really no host. It's all driven by the witnesses, and it's not really compelling. I want someone to come in and detail the story out and do individual interviews with the people. But some of these stories are really wacky. Kind of in typical Unsolved Mysteries fashion, they leave a lot of stuff out. So when you go and you explore it on the internet, it's sometimes a very different story than what they see. But some of these mysteries are really, really good. Some of them they reach, and then there's a UFO episode, which is always kind of a letdown. But there's 6 new episodes slated for the end of the year, so I'm really excited for that. I think they just need to find a host. No one's ever going to fill Robert Stack's shoes, but yeah, they could get close, I'm sure.
All right. Doug, you watched another Netflix show too, right?
Yeah, a Netflix original series. Altered Carbon got its second season a few months ago now. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Altered Carbon, but it's a sci-fi TV show. The first season was very noir sci-fi. Takes place in the future. And basically they figured out a way that you could kind of transfer your consciousness into a body, like a created body.
Like Assassin's Creed?
Sort of, except
The Avatar?
It's kind of more like Avatar, where they create bodies, and you can transfer your consciousness into a new body, and so your body's basically disposable they call it a sleeve, basically. And so the rich people will get like the best bodies, and the poor people, of course, get shafted. So it's just like today, in that respect. Big change in season 2 is that Joel Kinnaman is no longer back as the protagonist. Instead, we've got Anthony Mackie. I liked Joel Kinnaman's performance better. I'm not always a fan of changing out the main character. I know they did that a lot with Doctor Who, where you get a new doctor every couple of seasons. And so I always get attached to the main character. And so to me, I wasn't crazy about the change to Anthony Mackie. But it was serviceable. I mean, overall, the story was okay. It was somewhat entertaining, but if I had to pick, I'd pick season 1 over season 2. I just think it was a stronger entry. Joel Kinnaman does, I guess, a more brooding noir performance, and it's just a more noir TV show, and so that kind of appealed to me more.
I had no idea what this show was. I thought it was a video game.
Yeah, so the main character is called Takashi Kovacs, and it's still supposed to be Takashi. It's just 30 years later, and he's got a new sleeve, which is why Anthony Mackie is playing the character. It just didn't feel like the same guy to me. I mean, just Anthony Mackie's performance just felt very different than Joel Kinnaman's. And so it was hard to believe that it's still the same Takashi Kovacs that you grew attached to in season 1.
Do you know if it was intentional that they switched actors between the 2 seasons?
I believe it was. It's based on a book. And so I think the second book that the second season is based on was actually, he switches sleeves. So I think they did that intentionally. It wasn't like they had an issue with Joel Kinnaman or anything.
Do you think they'll end up replacing Anthony Mackie with another actor?
I don't know. I just hope it doesn't happen. I just didn't really care for season 2.
Doug's canceling Altered Carbon.
Yeah, I'm canceling it. It just wasn't my favorite. Chris Connor's back, who plays Poe, a hologram that's based on Edgar Allan Poe. That's entertaining. He does a good job. And then I didn't realize this until today. Renee Elise Goldsberry, Angelica Schuyler is the main female lead. Didn't put two and two.
How was she?
I looked that up. She was good. I had no idea watching Hamilton this past week that it was the same person. So I guess she did a good job.
She doesn't sing any songs.
She didn't sing any songs. She didn't have a period dress on.
Damn.
I didn't put it together.
Oh well. JP, you're up. And I actually watched the same thing you watched. I did not realize it.
I wasn't kind to myself this weekend. I really wasn't. I went down the hole with Unsolved Mysteries, and then I brought it back up with a musical, and I'm not a fan of musicals, and we'll get into that later. This musical is not based on historic events, and is well, thank God it's not.
Parts of it are.
It kind of actually is based on historical events because I like some of these awful European bands that have competed in them. I listened to some of them that actually.
Yeah, I mean ABBA, I don't know how you pronounce it, but they actually won that thing.
Yeah, and then there's a metal band that I listen to called Lordi from Finland, who dresses up like monsters. They parody them in the show. They actually won all of Eurovision as a painted up monster heavy metal outfit from Finland, which was surprising. But this stars Will Ferrell and I forget her name.
Rachel McAdams.
Rachel McAdams, right? And Pierce Brosnan as.
And what's the film called again?
Eurovision, the Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga.
What a
mouthful.
Strange fucking name.
Is a strange name. It is a strange film, filled with all manner of strange songs and covers of songs and a weird song party halfway through where I almost turned it off. Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams play probably not weird. Brother and sister duo of the Icelandic band called Fire Saga, and their entire goal in this world is to compete and win Eurovision, and somehow they make it in there, even though they have very limited musical talent and all sorts of weird European characters in there. It was entertaining, but a little.
It was very stupid, but it made me laugh like a good amount.
There were some really funny scenes in it.
I liked Rachel McAdams in it. I forgot she's like a funny actress. Because I feel like she gets kind of put in more dramatic stuff, or like she's the straight like woman in a comedy. But in this, she was goofy, and I enjoyed her a lot in it.
Yeah, she was definitely my favorite part of this. Will Ferrell didn't really shine like he does in some of the other comedies. He was good.
Yeah, it was more like a Blades of Glory, like semi-pro type of
it felt
performance.
Like Blades of Glory.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of Blades of Glory.
Yeah,
and I hated Blades of Glory, but I actually did enjoy this. I don't know. It was the director of Wedding Crashers. I'm not sure who directed Blades of Glory. But I don't know. It was serviceable for a Netflix movie. Wouldn't be something that I'd want to pay in theaters. But as a free thing on Netflix at midnight, I was happy to watch it.
Josh Gordon directed Blades of Glory and then promptly got suspended from the NFL.
Which Josh Gordon? Did this guy direct anything else?
I have no idea. It doesn't.
Probably not, because the movie was bad.
Doesn't seem to be that way. Yeah, he was the director.
Yeah, he did not direct like anything good.
Yeah,
he's terrible director. Sorry, Josh Gordon.
Commercials. But I mean, At least he's got the NFL career to back up. Yeah, if it wasn't a Netflix movie, I honestly wouldn't watch it. But laying in bed, not wanting to get out of bed, and I put it on. I don't think I could physically leave at that point. I was so tired, but
Yeah, I've been watching so many Netflix movies over the past like few months. Like every one I didn't watch over the past like 5 years that I was like remotely, mildly interested or got any sort of decent review. I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'm watching it. And most of them have been pretty good. They weren't like, they're not direct to DVD or like direct to TV quality. So,
yeah.
All right. So I'll get into mine now. Kind of doubling them up because it's a very similar theme for both of them. I planned on originally talking about Russian Doll. It's a Netflix series with Natasha Lyonne. I know Doug had watched it like last year and actually recommended it to me, and I never responded to the text. And then after watching it, I texted Doug. I'm like, "Hey man, you should watch this show. I think you'd like it." He's like, "Yep." And he looks up the receipts and he sends the message back to me. He's like, "Yeah, we had this conversation like a year ago." I'm like, okay, cool. Which is kind of funny because it's a show about like being on a time loop. So it's like a Groundhog Day type series, but it has a pretty cool spin in it, where it's not so much like the day just resets like once you go to sleep or anything. It's like pretty much like you die and then you go back to that time period you started. And then just things get weirder and weirder as it goes along, the more loops that you're in. And it has a cool spin to it with like kind of like an Edge of Tomorrow thing where it gets another person involved, like in the loops. in Edge of Tomorrow, did Emily Blunt remember every single time, or did Tom Cruise have to remind her every single time?
He had to remind her every single time.
He had a reminder, but she had some sort of connection to it.
Yeah.
She had the same thing that he had earlier on, but she had
previously, right?
Right, it had already run out, so he had to remind her every day.
So this one does it where Natasha Lyonne and another character both are going through the same thing at the same time, resetting at the same time, and it's like dealing with their connection and stuff like that. I thought it got really dark, which I wasn't expecting, based on the way it started, and I thought it just told these character stories effectively. Made you care about them. The performances from both them were very strong throughout, and I don't know where the heck it would go for season 2 based on the way it ended. But it seems like it would be going in a slightly different direction, and I'm excited for whenever the heck it's actually going to come out. Doug, I know you watched it, so I'll let you, and you're like a super fan of Time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I did see it a while ago, so I don't remember it perfectly, but I thought, like you said, the movie, it's kind of like a mix of Final Destination and Groundhog Day with like all the dying that her
Man, you just described Happy Death Day, man.
I have not seen that.
And also Happy Death Day 2.
Happy Death Day to you.
Oh,
I didn't know that was a Groundhog Day movie, so that's now on my list of movies to check out. But yeah, so I guess Russian Doll does a similar thing, but it was good. It's interesting because I didn't really like the main character all that much in the beginning. I thought she was
definitely not sympathetic.
Yeah, she's not sympathetic at all, and you kind of get to know her over the episodes in the series, and you do kind of grow to like her. And so I thought she did a really good job of winning you over from a character perspective. Mm-hmm. But it was a great spin on a Groundhog Day movie, and it does go in places that I didn't expect it to go either with the story. So it's not just a Groundhog Day movie. They definitely have a new story to tell. And so, yeah, I would definitely recommend that you all check it out because it's a cool story.
I'll add it to the list.
And then this past week, Hulu put out a movie that they purchased at Sundance earlier this year for, I think, like a record amount of money. Palm Springs. It stars Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti. J.K. Simmons is a supporting character in the film. Very much similar to all the films that we're talking about. It's dealing with the time loops over and over again, 2 people at the same time, in this case, in Palm Springs, only the twist being in this one, and it's not a spoiler, being that when the movie starts, Andy Samberg's already been in the time loop for you don't know how many years, but he's been in it for a very long time. And then Kristen Milioti gets in it with him, and then it's kind of just dealing with the 2 of them fucking around, having fun, and then ultimately everyone wants to get out of the loop. You realize, all right, you can't live your life like this. It eventually becomes monotonous and horrible. And it's got some clever stuff with J.K. Simmons. His character was ridiculous. I won't spoil it for you guys, but I'll spoil it for a little bit. He's a little crazy, and he does not like Andy Samberg, and I won't spoil it anymore, but I definitely recommend you guys check it out. It's a good romantic comedy, emphasis on the comedy, and something that I absolutely would have paid money to see it in theaters. So the fact that it was a Hulu exclusive was pretty cool. That was something I got to watch during quarantine, or I don't even know. Do we even consider this quarantine anymore, or is this just life?
No.
I guess this is just life at this point.
No.
The apocalypse.
Do you say you consider this quarantine or no?
This is quarantine to me. Things are going to go back to normal.
So
JP's delusional.
So
I'm not living this life. I'm not living this life. That's not happening. It's December.
And the time loop stuff works even better now because right now it just feels like we're living the same day over and over again by staying home and really doing nothing other than working, sleeping, and watching TV.
Wearing the same clothes for weeks on end.
Exactly.
Is that just me?
So these are two things I absolutely would recommend during this fucking pandemic. Russian Doll on Netflix, Palm Springs on Hulu. Check them both out. And I hope you guys watch them and we can talk more about them later.
Yeah.
All right, but now let's just dive right into our news and the fact that it's once again pandemic related. So summer 2020 is essentially canceled when it comes to the movie industry. It's been a weird week. The weeks are, last week, New Jersey was being sued by all the theater chains, AMC, Regal, Cinemark, etc. It was pretty funny for us as 4 people, 3 that currently live in Jersey and 4 that grew up in Jersey. So they were all suing Jersey because the governor wouldn't say when the movie theaters would be allowed to open. They considered it an infringement on the First Degree or the First Amendment. I'm not really sure how, but that was last week. So now this week, today, California announces they're closing all indoor activities, movie theaters being one of them. This isn't going to end anytime soon. We also know AMC now is in no risk of closing. I know that was one of the big things that they're like, we got to get the number 1 theater chain in the company up and running again, or they're going to go out of business. They lined up a deal to reduce their debt by up to $630 million. So they're now not in a position where they need to rush to be open to stay in business. So I'm thoroughly expecting this week to just be full of delays. We'll see Tenet delayed again. We'll see Mulan delayed again. Now, I don't think it's going to be like a 2-week delay. I'm expecting them to be like 2 to 3 months. It sucks, but we definitely shouldn't have done a summer movie preview with the way things are going, because now our summer movie preview can be used as a fall movie preview, and we can just edit the dates moving on if we're lucky.
I don't know. I think there's a pretty big possibility that the movie might even get delayed until next year. I could see it coming out in March at this point, maybe February, but I just don't see it coming out this year.
I think Christopher Nolan would fucking kill you if he heard you say that. His movie's coming out first.
Tenet's getting released in Fortnite, dude. Mark my words. August 2020. Fortnite exclusive. Tenet.
The stupidest.
You can wear the Christopher Nolan skin and watch Tenet.
So you'll have on a dapper suit and parted hair, and you'll basically look like Robert Pattinson in Tenet.
Yeah, and I
think he's like a Christopher Nolan avatar.
Screaming about how your movie needs to be released in the summer, and you don't care how it gets released. Yeah. New Mutants definitely coming out this summer, though. Check your local theater.
They're gonna put those in drive-thrus only.
Yeah, we were walking down the street the other day. The alarm was going off in my local movie theater. I'm pretty sure someone broke into the movie theater to install New Mutants onto the projector so that you can watch it as soon as they open. It's coming. I'm telling you, it's coming.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point if Mulan ends up VOD.
It's a $1 billion movie.
Yeah, I get that.
Netflix has got to be making some cash right now, so maybe they buy Tenet.
Christopher Nolan.
Why are they not selling some of these lower tier movies to streaming services? You would think that.
I think we're gonna see a bunch more of those. the smaller movies, like Paramount, I think has a deal with Netflix. Like that's how the Lovebirds ended up on there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some smaller scale Paramount movies go there. I wouldn't be surprised to see some more Warner or Universal comedies and like horror movies potentially going to VOD because they've been all about it since day one. They were fully prepared. I mean, they moved F9 and Minions to 2021 like immediately. They knew or were confident that things weren't going to go back to normal quickly.
I mean, kids are never going to stop loving Minions, so that's pretty safe.
Yeah. But I do think we'll probably... Bill and Ted, it wouldn't surprise me if that went to VOD.
That would make perfect sense.
Like, it's not that... I don't know how much money that would make. I can't predict that movie. If my life depended on it, I have no idea how much money that movie would make, even prior to a pandemic. Just the fact that it's a sequel to an 80s movie, but it's like kind of kid-based, right? Like, it's not super, like, edgy.
I don't think it's really going to appeal to children, though, because it's, you're 3 movies in at that point, and it's some, 2 old guys that are probably perpetually stuck in the 80s, where these kids don't know what the 80s are. I feel like it appeals to our age demographic. It appeals to 30-something-year-old people that, grew up watching some of these films and maybe a little bit older. Like my parents that would rent it and sit there and watch it and laugh at how stupid it is. And they still bought it though. I mean, at the end of the day,
it is hard to get a barometer on that because I think we do have some nostalgia towards the movie outside of Murph, who hasn't seen it. But I don't know that it's like a clamoring where I need to get in theaters as soon as possible to see that movie. And so I don't know how that movie would have done anyway. Unless it just unless the reviews were just amazing.
Yeah. That's definitely when I would feel myself waiting for it to come out on video on demand and just watching it.
I could absolutely see myself waiting to see it until VOD.
Give me something.
But I imagine
something new.
I imagine when we record our next one next week, there's going to be a ton of updates with release dates and things like that. Speaking now of some other announcements, they announced the Halloween sequels, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, are both being pushed back by a year. So it's the first, or part 3, I guess you can call this one, of their choose your own adventure series, because there's so many different paths you can go for a Halloween series. The second one by Danny McBride and David Gordon Green with Jamie Lee Curtis back, that's coming out now in 2021. And John Carpenter's involvement. So they did put out a teaser for that this past week with the announcement that it's being delayed by a year. Did any of you get a chance to watch the teaser?
Yeah, I watched it.
Who saw the last one? Doug or JP, did either of you see it?
No.
Well, spoiler alert, in the last one, they light Michael Myers' house on fire, or not his house, but Laurie's house on fire. Michael Myers is locked in the basement. Movie ends. Okay, that's the end of the series. No, it's not. Movie made a lot of money. We need to do a sequel. So now you see in this teaser that they show, you see the fire trucks coming and Jamie Lee Curtis and her daughter and granddaughter freaking out like, no, let them burn, blah, 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 blah. So that's how he ends up escaping death another time. That's really all they showed. But
is that
Corey? I know you really dug the last one.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was a really good return to form for the series, and definitely gave it a shot of adrenaline to restart.
Yeah.
I thought it was exactly what the series needed.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just really shocked that, they're pushing it back a year, which, I mean, makes sense. It makes complete sense because of, it's a horror movie and Halloween.
Halloween, if you...
Yep.
There was nothing fucking stupider than Halloween Resurrection coming out in July and Halloween H2O and the Halloween remakes coming out in August. Like, what the fuck? It's in the title. It's Halloween. You put the movies out for Halloween. What were you going to say, JP?
I was just asking, is this a direct sequel to the first Halloween movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Every other one is erased.
Gotcha.
They've got rid of the whole Michael Myers is Laurie's brother. Like, that's not even part of it anymore.
Oh, wow.
Because that wasn't introduced until the second one.
So Busta Rhymes never existed.
Busta Rhymes is in the Halloween verse, like a different one. And
alternate timeline?
He's in an all-time line, and he's kicking Michael Myers.
I'd like to think that's the
while
best timeline.
While filming his reality show elsewhere.
Yes. Yeah, I like to think that's the best timeline. I think that's the only one I've ever seen.
That is your timeline. The LL Cool J Busta Rhymes timeline.
Yep.
But we shall see.
A mask, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's true. He's practicing safe protocols right now. He social distances until he decides to kill you, and then he gets very up close and personal. But he wears a mask, so he doesn't infect others, and so he doesn't get infected. It's smart.
He doesn't move too fast. He's always behind you, and then he gets in, does his thing real quick, leaves. Masks always
exactly. But other than that, Universal, they also delayed the Purge, the Forever Purge, the fifth and supposedly final entry was supposed to have come out, I guess, this past week, and that got pushed back to next July. And then Candyman got pushed back only like a month later this year, from September to October. But we shall see if that comes to pass. In other news updates, something that I know we were texting about to each other earlier this week. There's going to be a Gotham City Police Department TV show on HBO Max. Supposedly, well, not supposedly, it's going to be in the world of the new trilogy that Matt Reeves is directing. So he's going to be producing this show. Terrence Winter from The Sopranos, Boardwalk Empire, Wolf of Wall Street. He's going to be writing, I believe, all the episodes. So that's going to be coming out, I would imagine, probably in 2021, possibly 2022. Are any of you guys excited for this, or are you apprehensive because it sounds too similar to the Fox Gotham show? JP's got a fucking smirk on.
Jeffrey Wright planned to make an appearance on the show?
I would think he would. I would imagine he would. Be weird not to have him on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely excited, cautiously. I think it could potentially be really good.
Oh, yeah. Throw caution to the wind, man. Let's go. Buy in. Battinson all day, every day. Let's go. I love this idea. It's like a potentially less bad Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's something to do when you're not watching Batman movies. You can see what they're building towards, and then you get this movie where they can do cool stuff, and then it goes back to... I love that, and I love the fact that you probably get to see so many small-scale Batman villains that probably would never get screen time in a big movie. You're not trying to shoehorn the Penguin into some crappy CW television show, or this guy's the Joker. Nope, he's not the Joker. The same actor's the Joker. They can take the good villains, the big ones, put them on the big screen, and get some of the lesser-known Batman villains that I would love to see on the smaller screen on HBO, and probably, like, I'm assuming a 10 series or a 10 episode arc or something like that.
Probably.
I love it. And it would just build hype for the next one. It would, after the movie comes out, you probably get 2 seasons of a show that's just going to build the hype for the next movie. It's marketing itself, essentially, unless the show sucks, in which case, it's just Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., at least the first season.
Yeah, like S.H.I.E.L.D. After season 1, I thought they...
Season 1 was great with how they tied it up to Winter Soldier.
Yeah, the Hydra stuff. Yeah, I don't think that we can say that Gotham was a proof of concept that a show focused on Gotham PD isn't going to work. I think Fox kind of took that. Well, first they didn't even commit to the Gotham PD story. Then they had to shoehorn Batman's like child Batman, kitty Batman into it.
Did they bail after season 1? Like season 2 just became Batman.
It just became Batman, but like before he was even Batman, so it's just a kid, or a little rich kid called Bruce Wayne is basically what the show was. I think we talked about this a little bit, but if HBO, if we're getting like another Watchmen caliber show or even anything close to Watchmen, I mean, we're in for a treat. I mean, there's a lot of potential with the Gotham PD story, where you can focus on getting really darker than I think you can go in a lot of the big screen movies. And it's HBO, so you don't have to worry about network television and appealing to teeny boppers. So
just think about like something like Victor Zsasz done right, where you have this serial killer working for the mob going around. You don't need Batman to take him down. He's just a guy. That'd be great. And you can there's just so many avenues you could go. I'm excited. Get Jeffrey Wright on board, and
hopefully we don't have another Pennyworth.
Yeah, I don't know why Pennyworth was a series. That was like when they talked about making an Aunt May movie. Like, what? Why? Like, why do you want to do that? Nobody wants that.
Which Aunt May are we talking, though? Are we talking
Sony
Sam
verse.
Raimi Aunt May or the new one? Because
I don't know. You might even I think this was talking the Sally Field one. This was the Amazing Spider-Man one, not even the original Spider-Man movies.
They were just grasping at that
They were grasping at all of the straws, and all of the straws were like the short ones that were fucking bad ideas. But thankfully, that didn't actually happen. But yeah, hopefully this GCPD one will be legit. I'm sure we'll get more details about things like Jeffrey Wright being a cast member and who else will be on board pretty soon. But like Doug said, cautiously optimistic. I think that's the best way to go about it. Super excited that Terrence Winter is involved. He's one of my favorite HBO writers. So we shall see. Well, let's dive into Hamilton now. It's essentially the movie of the summer by default. We're all first-time viewers. This should be an interesting conversation since JP hates musicals, and
indeed.
Corey was probably the most versed in the musical since he had already listened to the soundtrack quite a bit prior to the movie coming out. But Doug and myself basically went in blind. I like a good musical. I'm not like a Broadway person or anything, with the exception of like a few shows that I've seen. I think the only musical was Book of Mormon that I've seen. But Doug, I think you like musicals to a degree as well. Not like a big Broadway person either.
Yeah, that's fair.
But so yeah, I think all of us have our own perspectives on the I don't know, the industry, art. I don't know what you would call it. But let's hear what everyone thought. What were your overall thoughts as first-time viewers?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. As you said before, I had some experience with the soundtrack, with the music, because I listened to it over the past couple years. So when I finally watched it last week, I was really, really taken back at how fantastic the performances were, and just the overall story I thought was really, really fantastic. and just the way it was shot. But I thoroughly enjoyed, the whole experience, and definitely made the music even more powerful, to me.
Doug, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. Went into it almost completely blind. I think I heard the Alexander Hamilton song when Lin-Manuel first performed it by himself, and just completely blown away by how good that musical was. Outside of how great I thought the musical was, I thought the way that they filmed this was really well done. It felt like a performance, but it also felt intimate. They brought in you got the close camera angles when you needed things emotionally to be conveyed. You had a lot of tight shots. Like there was a lot of acting moments, especially from like Lin-Manuel Miranda, that you wouldn't have been able to see had you been back in the audience, that you got to see as a viewer. They did cool things. I know they had cranes for some of the filming, and they got some cool above angle shots. I thought the way that the audience wasn't really there except for a few key moments was also really good. It wasn't distracting, but the couple of times where it was nice to have the audience react. Like certainly there were a couple funny scenes where I think we heard some laughter. I think I'm going on a rant about gushing about this movie, but yeah, I was a skeptic going into it just because I'm not a huge musical person, but yeah, I loved it.
Mr. JP.
Oh, I'll start with positive things. I don't have a ton to say about it because at the end of the day, I thought it was okay. I don't like musicals, but I think Doug hit it on the head. It was shot really well, and it was put together in such a good way that to get that experience live, you would need some Spider-Man turn off the dark seats where you're swinging from a rope in the ceiling. The close-ups are really nice. I mean, it's Hamilton, so to get anywhere near the stage, you'd probably have to drop a considerable amount of money. So odds are, if we were to see it live, I'd be in the last row, probably behind a pillar, and that wouldn't be a great viewing experience. I like Lin-Manuel Miranda a lot. I particularly what I know him from is his Dark Materials, and I thought from the moment he shows up in that show, I was really drawn. He's got a lot of personality, and that's just sort of his thing. Is he just oozes charisma. But at the end of the day, it's a musical. Musicals don't really appeal to me in a big way. I probably wouldn't find myself watching it again. I'm glad that I watched it, but I probably wouldn't watch it again. And then I think I'm probably the only person on Earth that had no idea that the guy from Mindhunter can sing. I did not know that Jonathan Groff was in Glee and Frozen and all sorts of other things where he sings, so that was shocking to see that.
Yeah, it's been funny watching people talk like on Twitter being like, how did I not know that the guy from Mindhunter is also King George?
Yeah, as soon as I saw him and as soon as he started singing, my mind just exploded. I said, well, there you go. And then you go look at his IMDb credits and you're like, well, I'm an idiot. Because clearly I haven't seen him in any of these things, but apparently all he does is sing. So good on him. He's a great singer and he can act as well, which, fantastic. And it was a really interesting performance with him spitting everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I honestly I don't see the hype, but I would imagine that if you were really into musicals and historical reenactments and all that good stuff, I get it. It's just it wasn't really for me. It's not bad. It's just not something I'll probably watch again.
No, that's fair. For me, I kind of went into it with having heard the first few songs a couple times, not really I never listened to the full soundtrack. I was like, all right, these songs are okay. Like, didn't really like blow my socks off or anything like that. Otherwise, I would have listened to the whole album sometime over the past 5 years. Attempted to watch it the morning it came out on Disney Plus. Watched probably close to an hour, but it was like falling asleep throughout that hour. So I'm like, all right, I guess it's not that great. If it can't keep me invested, turns out I was just tired. Because I watched it, I guess, a couple more times since then. I fucking love it. I think it's fantastic. I bought the vinyl of it, yesterday. Time means nothing now. But I got that yesterday. I actually probably like just listening to the album more than actually watching the show. It feels like it goes by quicker when you're just listening to it, probably because you're doing other shit at the same time. Than when you're watching it and you're like, okay, this is 2 hours and 40 minutes. Where all my attention has to be like pretty much focused on TV. But I thought the shots that you guys referenced were both really cool. I've never seen something like that before. And it seems like nobody's really seen anything done like that before when a Broadway show is filmed. It's typically just like a straightforward shot of the stage, and that's all you're getting. But the way they did this with all the different angles and the shots that aren't possible if there actually is an audience present was really cool. I'd love to see it on like IMAX or something like that, or like Dolby. When it was, I guess it was originally supposed to come out next October in 2021. So hopefully they do some sort of release where it's in those type of theaters for like a week or two. Because I think you would still see people lining up to get tickets to see it in that way. But yeah, I just thought the cast was great. The songs were great. And I was surprised that it actually met the hype. And for me, like, exceeded the hype. I didn't expect it to be anywhere near this good.
Now I'm wondering if they're going to end up paving the way for more Broadway productions to come to streaming services. I mean, I know that there's a Broadway streaming service that has a lot of different shows and productions, but you know, more of the A-list, high scale productions that you really in the past have only been able to see see live.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. We're probably going to see a lot more of this. I think Hamilton is kind of its own unique beast because of how much and how few people that got to actually see the play, especially with the original cast. But you got to imagine Disney's going to do more of this. I mean, I think the last call for Disney. I mean, the subscriptions are through the roof for Disney Plus. I mean, this thing. I don't think they've experienced a sign up like this, just because it's bringing in people that outside of the people that want to see Mandalorian or see, the shows that are on Disney Plus. I mean, this is a whole new audience that you're capturing.
They launched at the right time. And they brought this in for the right time. Smart to bring this up, and I mean that's just good business right there.
Well, what's interesting is this. I mean, we talked about it before. This was supposed to be a theatrical release in 2021. So they did give up that for the Disney Plus.
Yeah, but I think they probably make back, what they would have gotten.
Yeah, if they keep their subscriptions for month after month after month, they continue to make money on that one person each month.
Yeah.
So
that's the big key. I mean, because I think this would have killed it in the box office with the amount of people that are watching on Disney Plus. I think it would have destroyed the box office. I know I would have gone to see it, and probably, I mean, the fact that we've we've watched it here almost every day. It seems like we probably would have gone to see it like 3 times at least in the theaters.
I think it would have depended when it came out and what it came out around.
That's true.
I think you got to be in a certain mood to want to watch a musical, as opposed to just like going to see a movie. I have no doubt that it would have done very well in theaters, but just depending what it was being put up against. I mean, this may have been the wise decision, because people are probably going to still just keep subscribed to this to watch it like you do every single day. And I'm sure whatever reference they get for people downloading it and streaming it helps them as well. I'm
maybe definitely a savvy business mood.
Yeah. I'm actually shocked that this doesn't happen more often, because you would think that with the Harry Potter play, that would have happened at some point. I guess maybe once they stop making a fortune off of it, because it's incredibly expensive to go see, and you got to see 2 days of it. And each one of them is a ticket. Maybe they would have done something like this, but I'm actually shocked that they didn't cash in on the Harry Potter train like they've done with this. Maybe
I'm expecting them to hold off to like film an actual movie for that one.
Yeah. That makes sense, I suppose.
But I think it comes down to what Doug, you said before. Like, this is like its own beast. Like, there's not another Hamilton. Like, I didn't realize how big it was. I don't know what I was doing in 2015, 2016. Because you go, like, look back and, like, everyone went to see this show and was, like, obsessed with it. You can't build, like, the hype that this thing had. I don't think, like, you film Lion King, it's going to make an impact, like, on Disney Plus, because you already have the Lion King animated movie to watch. You have the Lion CG movie to watch. I can go on and on with the various Disney type plays. I think at this point, Book of Mormon is probably not in demand like it was in 2011 when it came out, but Hamilton still is. So it's a unique circumstance. I'm of the opinion that we're not going to get too many of these with this like crazy production value, but I could very well be wrong. Who did you guys like the most in it? I know, JP, you shouted out Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jonathan Groff as Alexander Hamilton and King George, respectively. What about you guys? Who stood up the most to you? Whether it was their acting and their singing was basically one and the same, since there really wasn't any dialogue in this entire thing. It was really just song after song after song.
For me, my probably favorites are Philippa Sue as Elizabeth Schuyler, and then I also really enjoyed Daveed Diggs as Jefferson and Lafayette. Yeah, I mean, both of them just were huge standouts. I thought that their performances were unbelievable and very unique, in just as a whole. I also felt that Philippa Sue's her voice and just her expressions were fantastic. Her voice was disarming every time she sang. It was just unbelievable. And Daveed Diggs, just every time he was on the stage, he had the audience in his hand with his performance. It just definitely a standout performance by him when he was on stage.
Yeah.
By you, Doug?
So I agree. I think those two killed it. I love listening to them. I would also, I guess, if I had to add somebody, I thought he goes. Not going to try to pronounce his full name, but I know he goes by Oak, and he plays Hercules Mulligan and Madison. And I thought he did a really great job as well. I thought his rapping was really good. And his two characters are so different. The Hercules Mulligan is just like so kind of like rough and raspy, and then he goes on the second half of the play and he's playing Madison. It's definitely more polished, and so I thought there was such a not only did he rap really well, but there was just such a dichotomy from who he was and who he plays in each role. Whereas some of the other characters, I mean, almost everybody does double duty in this play, but he was just one that I thought like I forgot that he was the same character sometimes, or that he played two different characters.
Yeah, and just to shout out a couple other ones that I thought were exceptional. I thought Leslie Odom Jr. was great as Aaron Burr. He was kind of like the tragic figure of the entire show, and they didn't really paint him as a villain. They kind of show like different layers to him, which I thought was a good choice versus just making him like the bad guy. I thought he was fantastic in it. And then Doug, you mentioned earlier, Renee Elise Goldsberry. She was great as Angelica Schuyler. It's cool now. Like we went to Schuyler was part of our middle school, and now we know a couple of the actual Schuyler's for why our middle school was named why it was, if we didn't already. But yeah, every performance that you guys went through were all fantastic. What I thought was interesting was, I'd say, and Doug, I texted you about this. I thought Lin-Manuel Miranda was probably like not even in my top 5 favorite performances of the show. I thought he was good, but I don't think he got like the exciting songs or the more like showy characters. Would you agree, or am I just wrong?
No, I think you're right. I think as the protagonist, it's more of these crazy characters around him. I mean, his whole point is, he's a hard worker, he's smart, he's a little arrogant. But really the characters are that are larger than life, or the people around him. And I thought, as far as like songs and lyrics, I mean, he does have some good lines and songs, but he also doesn't have like the greatest parts in songs. It's just, I think what he does a lot is he does a really good job. What I really loved about his performance is you just get a lot of emotion on his face, and he like, you could feel the emotion in the way he like sings. And so I thought, although maybe he didn't have like the showiest vocals or lines, he did a really great job of capturing the emotion behind each thing, and so you could kind of feel. I just felt it a lot when he sang.
Mm-hmm. What about any song or anything like that stuck out to you?
Yeah, for me, 2 songs that definitely stand out for me now, especially after watching the play production, is You'll Be Back. It's always been my favorite. It's just a fantastic song, and a great performance by Jonathan Groff. But the new one that I've come to really, really enjoy is Burn. Philippa Sue doing Burn, the song when she finds out about the affair with Alexander Hamilton. That song is just so powerful and amazing on so many levels.
Yeah, so I like that song a lot too. I mean, I love so many of these songs. So the ones that kind of stick out to me in this play are just the ones like with the production that just kind of really caught my eye and maybe kind of stunned me. And the first song that really did that while watching the play the first time around was satisfied. And I just love how that song goes back to the song prior and replays the scene from the character's perspective that you didn't see before. And I love the way they convey like the rewind after she's giving the toast, and then it rewinds back to when she first meets Hamilton, and you kind of see her perspective on the whole situation, which was a scene you had seen the song prior. I just thought that was really cool. I love how they conveyed it. The rewinding was cool. You got all the cool camera angles that you get for the movie. And the other song where the production kind of does something cool like that was Hurricane, where they basically just kind of create a slow motion hurricane when he's singing about how he's in the eye of a hurricane. I thought that was super cool. They pick up the chairs and it's kind of all just slowly moving around him as like the stage is turning. Just from like the songs are good, but from like a production filming standpoint, it was just like visually one of the cooler things I've seen in a play. And then just real quick, the cabinet rap battles were pretty cool. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, as for myself, probably go with Helpless. Really anything that Philippa Sue, Eliza does, and Renee Elise Goldsberry. I just thought the two of them were fantastic together, and with Lin-Manuel Miranda. And then I also liked Washington on Your Side. I think Daveed Diggs really kills it in that one. And his Thomas Jefferson is just such a fun performance. It really definitely stands out among them. JP, any that you enjoyed?
I mean, you guys pretty much touched on everything. Yeah, honestly, the one that stands out most for me was You'll Be Back, because I had no idea that Holden could sing. That was
exactly.
All the performances were great. It's just I was not expecting anything from
that.
Yeah, I was not expecting
that. So it seems like for the most part, it kind of lived up to the hype. Obviously, if JP, you're not a fan of musicals,
it wasn't my cup of tea.
It would have. I don't know how it could have. What it could have done in that case. Just not the genre for you. But would any of you guys pay to see it on Broadway now, or have you met your quota now by having seen it on here?
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely like to go see it on Broadway or off Broadway. At some point once everything opens up again. After all this, sometime next year, maybe go see it at. Hopefully, go see it at the Richard Rogers Theater. In the city.
I agree, and yeah, maybe. I mean, they've come off Broadway has come down here. Obviously, it's not original cast. It'd be interesting to see a new performance, especially as I keep listening to the original cast members over and over again. But there's something different about hearing the music live with the orchestra and all that. You got to see it. You got to see it live.
Yeah, and I imagine they're not going to be cheap when it comes back in 2021. But yeah, I definitely would like. Yep. But yeah, I definitely want to see it at some point in the future. I kind of want to fucking slap the shit out of my 2015 version of myself for not getting tickets back then with the original cast. But what are you going to do?
Well, in your 2015 self-defense, it was almost impossible to get tickets then, too.
That's true. Good point.
So,
JP, you were saying something?
No, I was just going to say, then you got people like me that, you've seen it in such close and great detail that going seeing it live might not do it justice. So,
Yeah, and I totally feel like it could be
impossible to get tickets.
Exactly. But I do.
With the build-up.
I definitely get what you mean. I feel like it could be somewhat disappointing seeing it live after having seen it from that close on a TV and with the original cast or you're used to from the soundtrack and things like that.
Yeah,
but
audio and
exactly.
there are some
but it
things
definitely
that,
would be it'd be a different experience. All right. I think that covers Hamilton. So let's jump into our closing segment, and one that we have not done yet. It's something that we are going to do on a regular basis if it ends up being something that we enjoy doing and we think is worth your time. And if you people that listen to this give us feedback and say you enjoy it, we'll continue doing it. But basically what we're going to do is go through each year. We can pick a year each week, and each of us will go through our favorite film of that year. I expect some years to be more obvious with the types of picks we include, some that will reveal more of our distinct tastes, which might be off the beaten path, and from what critical consensus say is like the best of the year. But what we're going to do is start in the 80s. So we'll start with 1980. Why we picked that decade. We were born in that decade, so we figured we might as well start there. Depending on how this goes, maybe we'll go back further down the line. But for now, we will go year by year, starting with 1980. Corey, you want to start with what your pick was?
Yeah, sure. My pick for 1980, after looking through the list of films, was Superman 2. So Superman 2 is very, I guess, important to me, nostalgic, because I grew up with it. My older siblings, as you guys know, loved Superman 80s movies, so I grew up on that film and watched it like many times. For whatever reason, I do enjoy the second one more than the original. I also enjoy the original. I think it's a great film, but I just like the dynamic of, Christopher Reeve, Superman, and the villains. You have Zod and his cronies, and I think it's a fun film. Gene Hackman returns. As I said, you have Christopher Reeve again, who arguably is the best Superman, and definitely hasn't been topped or come close to since Cavill.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't another good one until '89.
Yeah, absolutely. And Batman '89 is very, very different type of film than Superman. I can't really think of any other comic book superhero movie, in the 80s, other than, as you said, Murph, Batman, that really kind of hit every high note, and just really personified the character in really awesome ways. So yeah, that's my pick.
Did any of you guys did you see Superman 2? I've never seen it.
I've never seen any of those original ones.
I've seen the first one. I think that was it.
I don't think I've seen the second one either. I looked it up and I was like, is that the one where he flies and reverses time? But that's the first one. So I don't think I've seen that one either. I was trying to see it. Random thought that I had when you were talking about it, though, is how interesting it would have been had they done kind of like a Justice League with Keaton and Christopher Reeves. Just would have been such a weird, especially because those movies are so different.
I can't even imagine who they would have cast as like the Flash and things like that, and Aquaman.
Lord.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think any of us are really, other than you, Corey, I don't think any of us are really big on Superman. I mean, I know, Doug, you watched Smallville. But my real introduction was probably Superman Returns. Other than having seen the first Superman when I was a kid, and not really getting anything out of it, as I watched Batman all the fucking time and was fine just watching Superman once. All right, Doug, what about you? I know you also have a sequel.
Yeah, so I went with the obvious 1980 pick with Empire Strikes Back. Not a whole lot to say about this one. It's one of the best sequels ever made. It's a great movie.
And we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of talked this one to death, but it's a great movie. It definitely deserves to be on our favorite film series. I'm sure it would be on all of our top movies of the 80s. So I couldn't have us film this podcast without having Empire on the list.
That's fair. It'd be my number 2 pick for 1980. But yeah, I don't think we have anything else to talk about. Empire Strikes Back. It's a good fucking movie. Next, JP.
There's not enough Muppets in Empire. And I hold...
That's why it wasn't your number 1.
I hold fast on that. Yeah, not enough Muppets. Well, my favorite movie of 1980 was one with no Muppets. Airplane was one of the first probably funny comedy movies I think I ever remember watching as a child, which is odd because there's nudity in it, and I was probably like 5 or 6. But, that made me the strong, independent human being I am today. So much so that I've watched almost all of Leslie Nielsen's films since then, even really horrible movies like Spy Hard, and I love them.
No, Spy Hard is great.
And I quote them, and I send you videos.
Maybe it'll be my top movie of '96.
I mean, it's one of the better movies of 1996, I'm sure. Yeah, Naked Gun, just anything Leslie Nielsen did, I found hilarious. And Airplane is just, I mean, I'm going to talk about Robert Stack for the second time in this podcast because he was fantastic in this movie. Just the comedy in it is so random. It's so weird. It's not like anything I had ever seen before. And it's honestly not like anything I've seen since, because people have tried to copy it. And even, I mean, they've even tried to make the same movie with the same director over and over again. And it just doesn't work. It's just, Airplane was just such a good, stupid parody movie. And it unfortunately set the track for horrible, horrible parody movies made by the same people, like Scary Movie, which was terrible and devolved into nothing, and all those other movies that came after that. But Leslie Nielsen, fantastic, so funny, and just so many good jokes that you can quote from that movie for
it's so quotable.
Eternity. Love Airplane.
Shout out to Kareem. He was great in it.
Yeah, honestly, one of the better parts in that movie.
What weird casting, and it works so perfectly.
When he grabs the kid by the collar and pulls him over too, I lose it every single time. It's so funny. I bust my buns out there every night.
All right, and then let's pivot from comedy to horror. My pick is The Shining. Stanley Kubrick, Jack Nicholson. Really, it's one of the best horror movies of all time. It's one of Stanley Kubrick's greatest films, one of Jack Nicholson's greatest performances. It's just a masterclass in telling a suspenseful horror story. And the funny thing is, it's supposedly not much like the book. I've never read the book. Just Doug. All three of you, I think, have read the book.
It's a masterclass in taking a Stephen King novel and making it watchable. Because I love Stephen King novels, but man, they do not make good movies.
It seems like his short stories tend to pan out the best. Like Shawshank, Stand By Me, 1408. But yeah, I guess doing it completely different, telling your own version of the story, that works too. Because, I mean, similar to Airplane and the fact that there's so many quotable lines in it, this is one that has so many memorable set pieces that are just like etched in your brain. The blood coming out of the elevators, the Grady twins, the typewriter with what Jack Nicholson's just been typing over and over again. Yep, all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. Here's Johnny. Like, it has got so many fantastic moments that are just like part of film history. That if you're going to show a montage of film history, it's got shit from The Shining in it, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about Scatman Carruthers.
Lloyd the bartender.
He's awesome. The Lloyd's fantastic.
What an unsettling scene that is. I mean,
the score too was so perfect.
Yeah. If I was going to be in a haunted mansion, I would rather have one with a ghost bartender that serves me drinks.
I mean, versus the alternative where you don't have a ghost bartender serving you drinks. Absolutely.
I mean, do you want a bunch of creepy?
It sucks when you're an It sucks when you're an alcoholic, though.
Yeah.
It's true.
It is also leading you more down the rabbit hole of madness, or the maze of madness, if you will. But yeah, I think all of you all enjoy the film as well. Did you all like the movie more than the book?
I like the book more personally because the book goes into so much more detail about the hotel itself, and I'm like, I can't get enough of the lore and the mythos behind that hotel. They were supposed to make a movie about the hotel itself and its history, but that got scrapped.
Well, they're making a HBO Max show.
Oh,
called Overlook. J.J. Abrams is producing it.
As long as he's not writing it, I'm okay with that. I'm excited for that, though. There's a lot in that book about just the hotel. But like I said, it's a masterclass on taking a Stephen King novel and making it a great watchable movie.
The amount of time that Kubrick had to make that movie was absurd. It was years. He went through reshoots.
He spent a lot of time torturing Shelley Duvall. I know she had a miserable time filming it with him.
Yeah, I can't imagine filming with him was like a fun time for anyone.
No, he was like the David Fincher of his day, like on steroids. Like he would do an insane number of takes in order to get what he's looking for. But The Shining, that's my pick.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
And that also wraps it up. So yeah, we'll go in next week. We'll do 1981.
I'm so looking forward to that. I found some gems already.
Oh yeah. Oh, all right. Maybe we'll start doing some honorable mentions too as we go along. We're gonna come up with some ways to improve on this, make it a little more fun. But that's what we got for today. We actually are going to be promoting our social pages for the first time ever, starting this week. So seriously, like and subscribe to this stuff. So it encourages us to continue spending a decent amount of time on it, and we'll keep having fun doing it. But that's all she wrote. So this has been Murph, Corey, Doug, and JP at Live Breathe Film, and we'll see you next week.